applause right there.
Hey! Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hint.
I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do
and do tech
good.
I was like, wait, are we waiting? Or I don't know what we're doing.
Hey guys, we're here at VueConf US 2019. Brian, where are we at?
It's the Strauss Center in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Wow! We're here all day today and tomorrow, and we are joined by a very special guest. We're here with Maria Lamardo.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. You got it.
Thank you. Maria, it's so nice to have you on the show. Do you mind telling us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm a software engineer at Nutanix, and I'm here to talk about web accessibility because it's something I'm really, really passionate about.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yay, me too. I love web accessibility.
Yes.
What got you into web accessibility? Why the passion?
Sure. So I'm actually a behavior analyst, and I have 8 years of experience working with people with developmental disabilities.
Yeah. What is a behavioral analyst? I saw that and I was curious.
Sure. So I provide behavioral therapy for children with behavior disabilities.
Okay.
And it's just pretty much we analyze their behavior and then see what's causing it. Yeah.
Okay.
We graph everything. It's a science. We observe everything and keep data of everything. And then based on that, we come up with plans to like modify the behavior and modify it to more appropriate behaviors. So yeah, working in that field has really driven my passion for accessibility.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally.
So how does that translate into accessibility?
Well, so in my previous field, we had a lot of issues trying to find not only devices that worked, but once we had devices, it's like, okay, now what? The next step is like, where are the applications that are accessible? Right. So I really had like firsthand experience about the struggles about going through without having any accessible applications.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So what does it mean to be accessible, in an app? Is it accessible for a certain genre of person, or can you explain a little bit more of what accessibility is?
Yeah, so accessibility is having everyone be able to access your application, like regardless of hardware, software, language, location, or abilities. So it's really like, it's not just for people with disabilities, it's for everybody, all users, regardless of any of these things.
So would you say that like having better accessibility standards, in your application and your software and your hardware is a better user experience?
Oh, absolutely. It improves user experience for across the board of all users. Even just like older users or brand new users or people in a noisy environment. So it's all of these. It could be permanent or temporary disabilities, like breaking your hand or, all of these use cases. Like you have to provide a way for users to experience the web like any other user could.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, can you hint a little bit at what your talk's going to be about today?
Sure. So I'm going to talk a lot about why it's important and why companies and developers should care about accessibility. And then I'm going to talk a lot about some of the tools that you can use to test your applications, making sure that you're meeting accessibility standards, and a way to test that really easily as you build your applications.
Do you mind giving us like, I don't want to give away your whole talk, but like maybe like a little snippet of like what's a good way to do it? Like.
Sure. So if you're using Chrome, there are really good tools inside the DevTools. Like you can use Lighthouse to run audits and make sure that you're testing your accessibility. And then they do have really cool, like once you run your audit, they have little good articles about what you're missing and how to fix the things that you're not meeting. And it's just a really, really good tool.
Nifty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I explored using a switch to navigate. There's basically software you can use that's just one single button to navigate an interface, and it's a test in patience. Like I feel like that's like the biggest. I don't know how. I almost feel like there should be there's breakpoints for screens. There should be almost breakpoints for accessibility.
Yeah,
well, that's fair. Yeah. So how does your talk go into accessibility specifically in Vue?
Yeah, so I talk a lot about components and how you can use components to create like certain pieces of your site and make them accessible and then reuse them throughout your application without having to worry like, hey, is this accessible? Like you make it once and then as you reuse it, like it has that accessibility built in.
So why Vue?
So what I started working with the team, and then they pretty much handed me a project, and we're like, hey, choose a front-end framework. You can go crazy. And I did a lot of research, and I had experience with Angular, and I was like, that seemed a little bit heavier than what we needed.
Yeah.
And then I kept seeing that the documentation for Vue was so good.
Right.
And then I'm kind of like the only developer with front-end experience in my team. And then it seemed very important to have the back-end developers in my team be able to understand what I had done with really good documentation.
Such good documentation on their site. Yeah. I love it.
That is for sure, I think, almost the #1 reason why people pick Vue. They're like,
absolutely.
This documentation is beautiful. I can read it, and it's in English. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you can translate it into different languages, which is really nifty as well. So
it's accessible.
It
Right. So you were a behavior analyst?
Yeah, I still am. Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly is the specifics of that, like, and how does that?
She did briefly go over it, but sorry, cut.
Well, no, I mean, she did go over. What I'm asking is, like, how does that still affect your day-to-day now?
So I am not practicing at the moment. Right now, I'm full-time developer.
Yeah.
But I do like to keep up with the research part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big nerd.
Welcome to the Thunder Nerds.
Yeah.
It definitely probably adds to your. I mean, probably keeping up on it helps you with this side of your.
Oh yeah.
Your,
yeah.
Now, do you miss it? Like, do you wish that you were doing that more, or do you? I
absolutely miss it. That was a field that I was super passionate about, and I would have never dreamed of switching fields. But due to health complications and everything, I couldn't do that anymore. And so I decided to go into development, and I've been fortunate enough to fall in love with it as I did my previous field, which I thought would be impossible. And especially being able to kind of incorporate both fields with accessibility, it feels like it's really my little niche passion of combining my two great loves, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was gonna just ask how you made that transition, like.
Yeah, so I guess it was in 2017 during the summer. I started getting sick, and then I started kind of losing mobility, and I got diagnosed with weird autoimmune disease in December, and I wasn't able to walk. I was bedridden for a while, and my husband, who's a developer, was like, hey, it was kind of like, it hits you, like your body's betraying you, like, what can I do? And my husband's like, you would really like development. You should try it. So I started doing like classes online, Codecademy. Then I Udacity paired up with Google to do a scholarship program.
Nice.
And I applied and I got it, and it was amazing.
Oh,
so yeah, I was able to just kind of focus on that, and it gave me a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of perspective of like, hey, I can still do something even if my body's falling apart. Like my brain is there, and I can use it. And so I kind of transitioned that like full time. I took medical leave from my other job, and I was like, I'm just gonna dive into this head on, and I've just absolutely loved it.
Oh, wow, so inspiring.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not only are you succeeding and doing so well, but that's such an inspiring story for others too that are in a situation similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like anybody can turn their life around and change it. You just have to stay positive.
Yeah, it's super empowering for like everybody. I think that's really cool to be able to hear your story and want to do that.
There's a lot of people that turn from that wherever they're at to become a second career developer or designer. And there's people that were truck drivers, and something happens, and now they're doing development, and that's their passion now.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear other people's story of how they got into development, because I swear I very rarely